Good afternoon, and thank you, Amanda, for your insightful remarks. My name is Lauren McHugh. I attend Virginia Tech, and I'm a Clare Luce Policy Institute summer intern. S.E. Cupp is a conservative political columnist, author, and commentator. In addition to being a co-host of Crossfire, a political debate show on CNN, and a contributor on the Blaze show Real News, S.E. Cupp has appeared on dozens of television and radio shows, including The View, Fox and Friends, Hannity, Glenn Beck, Real Time with Bill Maher, Larry King Live, and many others. S.E. is a columnist for the New York Daily News, as well as a contributing editor to Town Hall Magazine, a web-based and print conservative magazine dedicated to American politics. As a nationally acclaimed columnist and cultural critic, she has been published in The Washington Post, Politico, FoxNews.com, The Daily Caller, Sports Illustrated, and elsewhere. A graduate of Cornell University, S.E. Cupp obtained her master's in religious studies from NYU. She co-authored the book titled Why You're Wrong About the Right, and her second book, Losing Our Religion, The Liberal Media's Attack on Christianity, was published in 2010. S.E. Cupp is available to come speak on your college campuses through the Clare Luce Policy Institute lecture program. Today, we are fortunate to have her speak to us on the topic of turning your opinion into a career. Please join me in welcoming S.E. Cupp.
Hi guys. How's everybody? Good. Yeah? Good. I hope I don't repeat some of what Amanda had talked about, because we're in sort of similar fields. I'm going to specifically talk about opinion. You know the saying, everyone's got one, etc. So it seems as though basically anyone can go ahead and make a career out of having an opinion, and it's true there is not a required skill set to do what I do, but it's harder than you think, and it's harder than it looks sometimes. I know there's a lot of idiots on television, and you might watch and think, oh, I could do that 10 times better. Maybe you could. Maybe you could. But it's a lot harder than it looks, and it's hard to break in. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in my business who are super proprietary about their information and tips and tricks. I'm not that person. I am happy to tell you the tricks of the trade and shortcuts and the hard truths and little things that you can do to turn your opinion into a career, because frankly, it's great work if you can get it. It's been really good to me, and it's a lot of fun. So hopefully, if you're here in DC working on the Hill with no ambitions to be an opinion, some of this will hopefully apply to you, because in your capacity working as a lobbyist one day, or for a congressional member, or as a politician, or as an analyst at a think tank, you might find yourself on television one day talking about election results or some policy issue, and some of this can be helpful if that experience ends up really turning you on and making you think that you might like to do more with that. Let me just debunk some common misconceptions off the bat about my business. It is not lucrative. It is not lucrative until you're at a very high level. I know most people see people on TV and they think, well, they've got to be millionaires, they're on television. It does not work like that. For the first few years, you do a lot of work for free. And a lot of the contributors that you see on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or anywhere else are not getting paid to be there. They're there because it's beneficial to them. And because maybe it's beneficial to their second business, their main job, to get clients or to spread word about their columns, their writing, their work. And it's actually very hard to turn those initial appearances into paid appearances. It's just not the way the business works. So do not go into this business if you want to become a millionaire. Very few people sort of end up being able to turn this job into a very, very lucrative business. And once you get there, it's very lucrative. It's crazy lucrative. It's stupid money. Stupid. So just off the bat, it doesn't pay well to begin, but neither will jobs on the Hill either. it's not always just about what you know. I know we all have opinions, and it looks like, we know everything, or we think we know everything. A lot of this business is about how you behave and how you treat people. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that being a good person, showing up on time, being prepared, these are things that are valued in this industry. It's very cutthroat, so you'd think that none of that really matters. It really matters. You will not last long if you're a jerk in this industry. And the well-known jerks that you all know in this industry who get paid a lot of money are really good at what they do and worked a really long time to get there. By and large, coming in, you will not be tolerated if you're a jerk to people. And word about your behavior gets around very quickly. Hair and makeup people love to talk. And so they can kill careers, absolutely. You need to be nice to everyone, everyone. And again, like I said, showing up on time, cultivating relationships, being nice and polite, being prepared, this is all currency in this business. 2, conservatives working at non-conservative outlets are treated badly. Wrong, false. People in the television business like ratings, and they like controversy. If you're a conservative working in a liberal outlet, or vice versa, a liberal working in a conservative outlet, your rating's gold if you're good at what you do. So don't only think about opportunities that are right in friendly environments. It's often more advantageous to put yourself sort of in the line of fire as one of the lone conservatives or liberals or progressives or libertarians to stake out some territory, especially if you're really confident in your opinion. That turns into to TV gold. And you will not be treated badly by and large because you have a different opinion than what you think the general opinion at that outlet is. You're a valued voice there, and very few conservatives are willing to go into liberal territories and liberals into conservative territories. It's not comfortable always. But don't limit yourself to just working with friendlies. It's a limitation you need not place on your career. Like I said, the misconception that anyone can do this. Not anyone can do it well. That's why there are so few really, really successful big talkers. You can name them on 2 hands. They're the primetime lineup on the 3 major cable news networks. And whether you agree with their opinion or not, they're good at what they do. Rachel Maddow's great at what she does. Glenn Beck is great at what he does. And to get to that level is more than just having an opinion. There's a lot that goes into it, and those were long time career efforts to get where they are. So you have to imagine getting into this for the long haul, because it takes a while to mature a career in this business. That said, how to get started. I'll start with my story and then offer some tips off of that. I went to college and studied writing. And by studied, I mean I worked at the school newspaper. I didn't take writing classes. I worked at the newspaper, and I got some great experience there. And I knew that I wanted to go into writing. I left college and worked for an online magazine just before the dot-com bubble burst. And just to let you know how good times it was before the dot-com bubble burst, it was an online magazine called drinks.com. And I basically went around to different bars and wrote reviews about cool alcoholic beverages as a 21-year-old out of college. It was a great job. I got paid for it. I got paid to do that. Needless to say, it folded in 4 months. So then I was stuck having to find a real job. And as a writer, after the dot-com bubble burst, it was slim pickings, so I did everything. I wrote travel blurbs for Fodor's road guides. You know, those like travel books. You don't know what books are anymore. Before the internet, when you were going to take a trip, you'd buy a book about a place. And it would have in it like recommendations about hotels. I know this is like Kayak and TripAdvisor and all this stuff, but I would write those blurbs. I worked for a magazine, a newspaper called The Bond Buyer. It was a financial daily newspaper on municipal bonds, which I still don't know what those are, in downtown Manhattan. I lasted 2 days there as a copy editor, 2 days. I did all sorts of kinds of things because I wanted to be a writer. And eventually I got a job, I did PR writing. Eventually I got a job at the New York Times. Not a glamorous one. I was writing sports, sort of, internally, sort of, no byline. And I was there for 8 years. Now, meanwhile, once I got comfortable in that 9-to-5 job, I got antsy and wanted other opportunities. I decided to go back to school, part-time at night. I got my master's at NYU. It took 6 years because I was going part-time at night. And I wanted to write a book, so I set about writing a book about politics. And that took a long time because I had other things to do at the same time. And then I pitched it. That was also not easy to try and find a literary agent as a conservative in Manhattan. Not easy. Got a lot of hate mail back from these literary agents. Finally found one, and they pitched us successfully to Simon & Schuster. And once the book came out, Simon & Schuster, like any publishing company, decided we should go and do some television appearances to promote the book. So my first appearance was Morning Joe, and it was, 3 minutes, standard, promote the book. And it went well enough. And I think that we were interesting, and I had a co-author at the time, we were interesting enough as two very young conservatives in Manhattan to get booked again on other things, political things that were going on. And so I started doing more and more TV appearances. I did a lot of radio, because when you write a book, radio is actually what sells books, so they had us do a lot of radio. And I was interested in getting columns out of this. So I started pitching myself to get column work, to get published. I started at small websites, worked all the way up to major newspapers and magazines. That's where I concentrated my energy. The TV and radio stuff kind of came to me. Are you available to come in and talk about X on this day? Yes. And so the TV thing just spiraled. It snowballed. And the job for me was to find a way to make TV promote my writing, and then the writing promote my TV, and have this symbiotic relationship so that my editors really liked it when I was on television, and my bookers and producers really liked it when I had a column out. And so that they both sort of fed off one another. And basically the rest is history. From there I got long-term jobs and contract jobs and television show opportunities. And that's where I am today. It was not that easy. It was really, really hard to juggle all of that and to grow this other career while I had a full-time job. Because like I said, that other career doesn't pay in the beginning. And I couldn't just walk away from my 9 to 5 and say, I'm going to be a television star. So it was 2 or 3 years of balancing grad school, a full-time job, television appearances, my book stuff, and all this other stuff that I was trying to do at the same time. It was not easy, but how do I say? It wasn't impossible. Like I said, as I navigated through the jobs, I learned very quickly that being punctual, being prepared, being proactive, sending bookers and producers and editors clips of mine to say, here's what I'm working on this week, here's what I'm talking about, let me know if you want me to come in. All of this stuff really added up and helped my cause. And to that end, I have some advice on how to start out in this career. Like I said, job one would be to write something. Not just anything, don't write a diary entry, but write something. And not as a reporter, you're not a reporter, but go out and talk to, interview someone that you have access to. In your case, maybe a congressional member. If the story of the week is Iraq, go talk to a soldier. You're all of an age where you have to know people who have enlisted or fought overseas. Go talk to a soldier, ask some questions. Again, not as a reporter, but to say, here's my opinion and here's who I talk to that agrees with me. Just helps when you're starting out not to be the only one on the page thinking and saying what you're saying. It's helpful. It reads to a booker or an editor this person has backup. And start sending clips out. If you think that they're good, and it's an opinion that you think is unique and fresh, maybe you have a certain perspective that no one else has, timed to the news. It can't be about something that happened 8 years ago, unless you're finding a way to make it relevant today. Then send it in to editors. There are a lot of online sites that take submissions unsolicited. You don't have to start at the New York Times. Start at a smaller publication and be persistent. I got a lot of no's before I got yeses, and I just kept sending things around. And then once you get a first publication, you're going to send that to your next editor and say, here's what I have published, and here's my new piece. And you keep building on that cause. And then finally, you're going to send a number of clips to a booker or a producer. And you're in the perfect town to find out who those people are, because they're not famous, but they're not secret people. You can find out who is the booker or the producer for Meet the Press, or who is the booker or producer for Greta's show, easily. And you send them your piece and you say, here's what I talked about this week. Let me know if you need me to come in and discuss it. I'm happy to. Here are my talking points. Here are the opinions I'd like to hit. I can even recommend an opposing guest, if you like, that I know disagrees with me on this. Do their job for them. I know it's going to at first feel annoying, like you're annoying them. You're not. Bookers and producers, like everyone else, they need to fill content, and they need guests. And they're happy to get suggestions. After that, after you have maybe a first appearance or you get a first publication, it will really be up to other people to decide if you're good at this or not. You might think that you are, and when you get out there, you're going to prove it. If you're good, believe me, they will ask you back. They will want you back, because I know it seems like there's 1,000 people on television. It's a very small pool of people that keep getting sort of circled around in the circuit. So, couple things. You have to decide early on if you want to be a generalist or an expert. And if you want to be an expert in something, then go become an expert, is job number one. Don't pretend you're an expert when you're not. Go get experience in the field, learn a skill, learn a trade. That can be anything from healthcare to oil policy, energy policy. Go learn something and be the person who talks about that. I remember a couple of years ago, I was at Fox, I think, and the Somali pirates were just starting to sort of fester again, and there was a panic in the newsroom because no one had a pirate expert. Who knows someone to talk about pirates? Nobody. And so they scrambled to find a guy, and they found this guy who was like a maritime terrorism expert. This was before we were used to talking about this. And he became the guy for an entire news cycle that they used every single day to talk about this issue. And he was able to leverage that into other kinds of stories. Become that expert. The good thing about that is you never have to talk about things that are outside of your wheelhouse. If you're a maritime terrorism expert, no one's calling you to talk about Snooki. That's not a luxury I have. As a generalist, I have to talk about everything. And the freedom in being a generalist is your job changes every day, and I'm commenting on whatever's in the news cycle, whether that's ISIS in Iraq or healthcare or the World Cup or the Redskins controversy. It's all there. The bad news is I have to be ready for all of that. So you have to figure out what kind of opinion person, opinion maker you want to be. Now, you want to, you guys especially now are in a great position because you're going to be going around with your members, and you're going to be in green rooms, you're going to be at events, you're going to meet people in my field who are in a position to help you out. Those people are not recognizable. Those people are not famous. Those people are not David Gregory or Chuck Todd or Sean Hannity. Those are not the people putting you on television. Well, it's great to meet them and fun to get a picture and tweet it around and say, I'd really love to be on your show, or I'd love to write for your, your outlet. They're not making that decision. The people you want to meet are the bookers and producers and editors. You won't know who they are. You'll have to ask when you're introduced. these are the contacts that you will want to make. And whenever you book a member or you're at these events, you need to start keeping a list of all the people who work on these shows. Because once you get your clips going, you're going to send out a regular email to all of these people every week. Here's what I'm on today. This is what I'm talking about this week. Here's where I was published. And here's what I'd like to discuss on your show. You're going to do it every week. Again, it's not going to be annoying. It's going to be what they want. And believe me, they will tell you, you're not good at this, stop trying. And then you'll know, or you'll move on and try to prove them wrong. But it's not annoying, it's crucial. And the people who don't do that and think they're just going to come to me because I'm so fabulous, not going to happen. You have to remind them that you're there. I think the other thing, and then I'll open it up to questions, is to I got this great advice years and years ago when I was first starting out, and it was to say yes to everything. You will not always be in a position where you have time to say yes to everything, God willing. If you get good enough at this, you'll have to divide your time. In the beginning, you should say yes to everything. A student at some local newspaper, school newspaper, wants to interview about XYZ. Yes, absolutely no problem. Someone wants you to do a speech in, Nowheresville that's not easy to get to and that you have to, rearrange a few things in your schedule. Say yes, yes, you can do it. Being available and being hungry and being ready for the opportunities that will go to someone else if you say no is a huge, huge piece of advice in this business. And hopefully you carry that through. I never forgot that advice, and so I try to still say yes as often as I can. And the last thing I'll say is you will have essentially 4 phases of this career if you choose to pursue it. The first phase is just trying to break in. Give me a shot, let me prove I can do this. And that is painful, painful work. Tiring, exhausting, painful work. But once you get that shot, the next phase is trying to keep it. Just give me a paycheck. Pay me for this. Give me a contract. Let me stick around for a while. Let me have a little security. That's not easy either. The third phase is you've got the contract, you've got a little security, people like you, they want to keep you around. How do you grow that? How do you grow that opportunity from a regular appearance on a network to maybe more, something else that you wanted to try, a radio job, a column job, expanding that. And then the fourth phase is when you get to a certain level, it sort of does this. The sky just opens up and you're like, whoa. There's a lot of things I can do that have nothing to do with politics, that have nothing to do with a television show. And then it's sky's the limit, and it's getting creative and taking this out for a spin, and figuring out what's the thing you always wanted to do, and how can you make that happen. It's a career where you meet a lot of people, and you have a lot of opportunities, therefore, to leverage your job into new opportunities. That's why it's so great. But it takes some hard work and perseverance and discipline and a good attitude to get to that place. But I would encourage all of you to try and find a mentor. Find a mentor that you trust, that you can try ideas out on, send pitches to, send your writing ideas to. Who's going to be honest with you? Because that's important when you're first starting out too. So that's sort of the broad strokes. I'd love to take some more specific questions if you have any. Hit me.
Hi, thanks so much for speaking with us. I'm Samantha. I'm an intern at the Clare Luce Policy Institute. I'm wondering if you can tell us what your next book would be about.
I cannot. Thanks for asking.
No worries, no worries.
I am working on my 3rd book, and I'm real excited about it. I can't, sorry. I just have to.
You're good, don't worry.
Why didn't I say anything? Anyone else? No No other questions? No one's interested in becoming a pundit?
I have a question. I know you said that oh, by the way, my name's Lauren. I intern at Clare with Luce. I know you talked about how you were based in New York for a while, and I'm actually curious, can you talk about how the conservative movement is in New York, or if it even exists? Like New York City?
What movement?
Exactly. So, like, how was it being a conservative in New York? Was it hard to...
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I always caution against the sort of woe is me, conservatives don't get any love thing. Conservatives do really well in the media. Fox News is doing just fine. Conservative talk radio, killing it. Conservative online media, killing it. Conservatives do great. We've got a huge platform, lots of places to talk, lots of places to be seen. So it's not there that it's lacking. But when you ask about a conservative movement in a place like New York City, that's tough. It really doesn't. I mean, there's, you know, the New York Young Republican Club is like 55 and older. There's just no, it's a new young. There's a new definition of young. There's just not a lot there. So in part, that's why I wrote the book with my conservative friend. We were frustrated. And the first book was breaking myths about being a conservative in a liberal environment. I had grown up in Boston, moved to New York, went to a super liberal college, undergrad, went to another super liberal college for grad school, ended up in a super liberal profession, journalism. And I like to think all of that made me conservative. But at the same time, it was tough to find a group to get behind and people to sort of mobilize with. So it really became up to me, and I just started to use my voice alone. And then this world opens up of conservative alliances from, you know, the college groups, which is great. I would encourage all of you, if you're conservative or liberal, to get involved in college politics. And then just, you know, groups all over the country. But if you're in a place where there isn't that movement, that foundation, luckily you're in the right century. I mean, everything is at your fingertips with social media and online networking. You're not really limited to the local meetups, you know, anymore, which is lucky. Anyone else? I know, Jensen, we go way back.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm a student at MIT. I was just wondering if you ever run into times where you do not really have an opinion on an issue, but you're pressured to give a stance.
Yes, totally. Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, you do. You run into times where either you haven't thought about an issue yet, maybe because it's a newish issue, so you haven't yet formulated an opinion, or it's an issue that's just not, you're not passionate about. You're not that into, and you haven't worked up this visceral, you know, foaming at the mouth kind of outrage about. And rather, well, let me say this. There are some people who would very much like to manufacture that outrage, and they're very good at doing that. I'm not great at manufactured outrage, so it never feels authentic to me. If you're good at it, great, you'll have a long career in this business. If you're not, I always try to approach things that I'm not immensely passionate about or deeply, deeply familiar with in the beginning by finding a hook for an average person. What's one thing in this story that an average person would care about? And then I try to ask the questions that that person would want asked. And hopefully that generates opinions and that generates positions on issues. But you know, you do a lot of research. You figure out what other people are saying. You grab this body of research and you try to glean some kind of position out of it. But when there isn't one, I think about the viewer. I think about, okay, if I don't have an opinion on this, and this is my job, I'm sure most people don't have an opinion on this yet. So let me ask the questions that I think they'd want answered from my position as a conservative. And so hopefully that colors some of the questions and gets some of the opinion out there. But I tend not to act outraged or expert on issues that I'm just not on. Anyone else? Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day and have a great summer experience. I hope you make the most of it. I'm sure you guys will. And I look forward to seeing some of you on television maybe. Good luck.